What's up guys, Twig46 here, and today we're going to take a definitive guide on how to not suck at the Swingfire. And believe me, this tank is really crap. It is one of the worst tanks I have ever driven, and in fact one of the worst vehicles of any game, anything, any grind I have ever done. It is the worst I have ever did. Alright, so, let's just go ahead and jump into the battles so we can just take a general look-see as to what makes this tank really bad, why it's hard to drive, and what's good and what's bad about it. So let's jump into a battle real quick. Alrighty, here we find ourselves in a typical match. There's a medium difficulty in PvE. We'll start out with a really long reload, 15 seconds. You're not going to rack up any damage records here. Another thing about the Swingfire is that it is a rocket tank, so you're going to be firing rockets, not tank shells, and this is going to be important later on, and you'll see why. Trying to move into position here, getting a shot lined up, and now it hit. See? There you go. That's why it's important why you're firing rockets. Can you see a little bit of why it sucks? Just a little bit. And hit. That's about what, 4 or 5 seconds to target? And you only get 2 shots, right? So now you gotta go through that 15-second reload again. Okay, we're ready. Fire the rocket.
Target down.
Good. Now, what else can we shoot?
Identify target.
There he is. And missed. So that's another thing, is depending on where your tank is facing, the shots will always go forward. So if you're facing to the side, it's going to go forward and then arc into the left. And if there's a building in the way, it's probably going to miss. If you have maps like anything with like industrial complexes, there's all this crap that's in the way, so your shot's going to go up and then arc down. So if there's a bunch of bridges or things, it's going to land right on top of that. That's another thing that makes this thing really suck. Alright, so we've successfully captured our first objective. Now we're moving on to the second. And there's a perfect example of what I was just talking about. Is something got in the way of the rocket. Alright, the second shot, did you see it? I lost guidance for just one fraction of a second. That's what this tank is. It's a rocket thing that has like a guide wire, so you manually guide the rocket. You don't just shoot it and forget about it. You have to maintain line of sight on your target the entire time your rocket is firing. Otherwise it'll miss, like this.
Enemy destroyed.
Ha, except he backed up. That is just, oh my god. How many shots I missed because a tank would drive back into cover. And of course, if you miss, well, you only get 2 shots.
Target down.
And that means you gotta wait through that whole 15-second reload again.
Threat destroyed.
There you go. That could have been another example of why this tank is absolute shit.
Identify target.
It's because by the time you shoot your rocket, you can't retrieve it. There you go. A nice little visual example of how the rockets will travel no matter where your tank is facing. They'll always go forward and then loop back around. But yes, I was talking about the fire rate. So once you shoot your rocket, you cannot retrieve it. And if you don't have a target lined up, that rocket's not going to do anything.
Nailed them. Threat destroyed.
Yay, got a 1 shot. Anyway, so you shoot your rocket, it's not gonna matter. So people are gonna constantly steal your kills and steal your damage.
Good hit.
Here's another problem. You only get 2 rockets. If you encounter a tank with more health than your 2 rockets can deal out, you're going to be vulnerable for the 15 seconds it takes to reload. So here's the second salvo. And that one tank took 4 rockets to kill. That is unbelievable and completely unacceptable, because if his little buddies were around shooting at me, I'd probably be like half health by now. Again, probably not worth taking this particular shot just because he's on low health, so I'm just gonna, yeah, just whatever. Alright, so you may notice right now that there's a little thing by the reticle on the bottom left that says stop to fire. That's another huge problem with this tank, is that you can't shoot on the move. You have to be stopped. So combine that with the fact that you have to be within line of sight, and you have to maintain that line of sight the entire time your rocket's in flight, means that you're going to have your ass hanging out in the breeze more often than you'd like. And because you're a armored car, you have no armor, so you're not going to be able to bounce anything.
Get rid of them, that company.
So basically, the way to survive is to use your mobility and rely on your teammates, like the main battle tank, to soak up all the damage for you. Now here's a little tricky spot in this particular mission with this particular tank, is now we're in the town, so it's a lot more close quarters fighting, and I did not like feel comfortable shooting there, but I did anyway. But this is, gotta take those risks. And here it comes. You have no armor. So, there's another example of a priority target. If you have anything that has an autoloader, that is automatically a priority target. It just, you cannot get caught out in the open with an autoloader guy shooting at you like that. It's not gonna work. Hey, look at that. You take a shot, it goes straight, it arcs back, building's in the way, your rocket miss. Another perfect example of why this tank sucks. Let's see how many more we can. Have you guys lost track? I've lost track. Alright, so at this point we're just using our mobility to kind of cruise around and see what we can find. Staying, putting it out a little bit, but always thinking about where the cover is, where the line of sights are. There we go, targets identified, we are spotted. Park the tank right in front of them. Enough time to dump out 2 rockets and then back up. And the whole time he can shoot you because you are in fact spotted. Let's take a reload and see what we can do about this guy. The whole time you're just sitting there waiting for the reload to happen. Righto, so not too much happening. So we're gonna take that opportunity to reload the clip, even though we've only fired 1 rocket. So another huge tip: if you know you're gonna be moving, just reload. More often than not, you'll be fine, but occasionally you'll have a target pop up and you'll have like an 8-second or 5-second or whatever on the reload. But you know, with only dealing 248 average damage per shot, you need all the damage potential you can get. So, I mean, with all the bad things about the swing fire that I've just listed off, what are the good things? I mean, like, what does this tank have going for it? Well, for starters, it has its mobility. It's not the fastest tank ever, but it is pretty fast. It'll do 55, 54 reliably on a straight road, and do probably like, I want to say like 30 on dirt terrain reliably, no problem. On a hill, maybe 40. So at this point, we're pretty much just mopping up, but let's see. The other thing that's really good about the swing fire is its camo. What you can do with this tank in terms of camo is like pretty much unmatched from what I've seen, and believe me, you're gonna need all the camo you can get. If you have anything that can enhance camouflage on this tank, do it. Because you're gonna need it. That was just a perfect demonstration of me hating my life in this tank so much that I just felt like I just could not take it anymore. And that will be you too, unless you learn how to drive it properly. Alright, let's take a look at another replay here really quick.
They hit us hard. Truck destroyed.
Alrighty, so nothing too interesting happening here so far, just taking advantage of one of my favorite positions I found early on in this map. It's perfect for line of sight and keeps you covered mostly, and out of sight. So I mentioned something about driving this tank properly. So what do I mean by that? How do you drive the Swingfire? Like, what do you do? What's your role? Alright, so here's the thing. When you look at the Swingfire, the first thing you're going to want to think, at least the first thing I thought, it was an extreme support vehicle. Like, you're here to shoot your rockets at things that other people can't penetrate, but your rockets can. And so you're going to want to hang back and just like snipe and do all that stuff and just kind of like gauge people's reloads and shoot your rockets at the opportune time so no one's shooting when you are. That actually couldn't be farther from the truth, actually. Oh, darn. Shot off all those rockets, can't retrieve them. Anyway, that couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, this tank is probably, you gotta be like one of the most aggressive tank drivers in this tank to drive it well. Now, how do you do that? I mean, clearly this tank is a turd with all the problems it has, so how the heck do you drive a tank this bad so aggressively and not die? I've seen tons of people drive tanks way more, you know, reliable and capable than this thing and just die instantly. So how do you do it? Well, there's a couple of tricks that you can use, and that's terrain features, such as hills.
Enemy intel and recon trucks are
Enemy
in the area.
recon trucks.
Enemy spotted at the southern silo. Get ready
Blah, blah,
to
blah.
cross the river.
Come on. Alright, so like here's a hill. So what you want to do is just crest it ever so slightly. Like right... No. Anyway, as a post, so whatever. But yeah, that's how you would do it. You just want to crest hills ever so slightly. And only expose the part of the tank that you need to get that line of sight. Alright, so another thing you can do is hide behind hard cover like rocks or buildings, stuff that you should be doing anyway in any tank, but especially in the Swingfire because it doesn't have any armor to speak of. Let's see, the thing that you want to be doing the most in the Swingfire, before we get there, this is a classic problem. For anyone, if there's a Swingfire on your team and he's shooting, don't get in front of him, because as soon as you do, you will lose guidance and then the rocket won't work. It just is such a big pet peeve. And you won't believe how many people just don't know how the Swingfire works, and they'll just get in your way constantly. And if you just notice right there, just a little tidbit, that is a thing you can do. You can shoot your second rocket and then you can move and still guide it. So if you really need to get into cover.
Hostile target. Marked.
That lost guidance from that guy driving in front. Not that I had a shot anyway, but still. Anyway, back to on topic here. So you want to be doing scouting, advancing the position, finding places where you can crest ridges and not be seen with using your stealth, so you can get in there and, you know, spot things, because you're not going to be doing the damage, you're going to be spotting the targets for other people. That's your main job. Also accomplishing the objectives of anything that a fast mover can do. That's your job as a Swingfire. And if you do those things, you can get results like these and be like top tier, or like on the top, you know, even if you're a bottom tier tank. And there's one thing that is always awesome, is to outperform people even when they think that you have nothing to offer the team. I love it when I can do that, especially when say I'm a rank 3 tank in a rank 5 battle and I outperform everybody. I love pulling stuff like that off. If you do too, I hope you found this video helpful, and hopefully this makes grinding with the Swingfire a little bit less painful. Believe me, it is the worst grind I have ever experienced in any game I've ever played. by far. So, there it is for you folks, the definitive guide on the Swingfire. If you like the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and leave a comment below, and I will catch you guys on the next one.